Hello guys, I want to talk about the fact that I took my MRI board yesterday and I had a preliminary passing score of 81%. Hey. So I sat there the entire, I don't know if it was 3 hours. It felt to me like it was 3 hours because I left that place with back pain. Like I still have currently back pain. My back is hurting me. Anyway, so I just want to talk about how I prepared for the test. So 80% of my stuff, at least 80%, I read the MRI in practice textbook. I read it like three, 4 or 5 times. I read it back to back over and over. I also want to say that the way I read it, the first time when you read it, it's going to be like a lot of stuff. Like it's only when you get towards the end that everything would start to make sense. You'd be like, oh, now I see what that meant. Oh, now I see what that meant. When you read it a second time, then it's going to be easier. The third time when you're reading it, it's going to continue to get easier and easier. The more you read the book over and over, you start to feel like you know these things. Like you will start to read something and then you start to finish the sentences because you already know what's the answer. Like you read something TR, this, da da da, and then you're like, that's going to increase the contrast. You already know it. That's the stage that I was at on some of them, not everything. But I was honestly like, I kind of felt like, the probability that I'll pass has to be high because I had read everything. And I just want to say that my mindset, I don't know if I already mentioned that, was when I was reading my textbook, I was saying to myself that I want to be able to feel like when I go to take the boards, I want to feel like I can teach an MRI class. So, like chapter one, when I go from page to page, I will read it and I want to feel like I can teach the concepts, like I can teach it. So that's the mindset that I had, was to think like I'm about to teach it. And even when I was going to take the boards, when I would read the textbook, I would look at certain things and I would be like, I was also reading like I'm going to teach and also feeling or thinking like I'm about to test the people in my class. So I would look at certain things and be like, this is an exam question and this is a likely exam question. So I was coming up with exam questions because I was looking at them like, this is a likely exam question. This is a likely exam question. So, and a good number of the things that I was like, that's a good exam question. A good number of my things that are underlined did come in the board. So, yeah. The only reason why I had 81%, I could have had much higher than that, is because I did not get to review my anatomy. I basically went in there with x-ray and anatomy knowledge, and that wasn't enough because I was guessing when it came to naming the blood vessels and knowing where they are relative to one another. I was guessing on that. I was guessing even on some bone work. I was guessing. So I didn't get to review a lot of, my nerves, like the ask questions on nerves, blood vessels, anatomy, like just things like that. I didn't get to review them. So I feel like I failed at least half of my anatomy questions, but I feel like on the physics part, I feel like I definitely most likely scored my highest score on the physics part, but I know that the anatomy part is where I messed up the most, so which is where I was supposed to have had the most points. I was hoping that I would make time towards the end to review my anatomy. But when I drove to the boards, when I was on my way going to take the boards exam, I had hoped that I would park my car and just review anatomy really quickly. But when I was driving, I got caught up in traffic, and then when I arrived in DC, I mean, the cops just blocked all the roads because of the protest that's going on. They were blocking certain roads. So I got caught up driving back and forth trying to find where to park. It took up so much of my valuable time, and by the time I parked and got to the testing center, it was exactly time for me to be in the board exam. So I didn't have time to go over my anatomy at all. So that took off a good chunk of my points. So I mean, not trying to make any excuses, but that did affect, like, my score. But I'm still happy that I passed. But I just feel like I could have had a better score, but I'm happy. I'm grateful though.